Stocks on Wall Street and mixed. The S&P 500 and the Nasdaq notch another record close post solid earnings from Alphabet, but Dow Jones slips more than 300 points. Asian markets open mixed as investors assess the recent trade developments. The GIFT Nifty is indicating a gap down start for the Indian market. And crude oil prices extend gains for the second session as optimism over U.S. trade deals lifts market sentiment. Gold prices fall on signs of easing global trade tensions, which dampens the demand for safe haven assets. India and UK sign a free trade agreement. Average tariff to be reduced from 15% to 3%. Tariffs removed on nearly 99% of goods and services traded between both the nations. Prime Minister Narendra Modi as well as Prime Minister Starmer say the deal will boost bilateral trade by $35 billion annually. And in key earnings to watch out for today, Cipla is expected to report a 6% rise in revenue, while Shriram Finance profit after tax is expected to grow at 9.3% on a year-on-year basis. Hello, good morning. You've tuned into CNBC-TV18 and you're watching Power Breakfast with me, Vinny Motiwala. Yesterday, what we saw coming in was a bit of a decline for the Indian markets, but the handover that's from the US market is a bit mixed. What are we seeing in terms of the Asian markets this morning? A slightly bit of a muted start is what is coming in for the Asian markets, right? Taiwan index is down 0.04%, Hang Seng down 0.6%. We're not seeing any optimism here, right? After US and Japan trade deal, we had seen a bit of a run-up coming in for these Asian markets. Now, today, Nikkei is down 0.5%. ASX 200 is also down 0.5%. So, a bit of a decline that we're seeing coming in for the Asian markets. That is what we're keeping an eye on. Indian markets also indicating a bit of a red start. As of now, a gap down start is what we are watching out for. Now, handover from US is mixed. Asia has opened up in the red. So how is all this going to be impacting our Indian markets? We have a team of research joining in with us to set you up for trade, tell you which are the important stocks to watch out for, as well as what are we watching out for in the world of F&O. Now, before I go to the research team, let me take you all through what we're watching out for in terms of important cues that we should keep an eye out on for the Indian market today. Like I said, US S&P 500, Nasdaq, that closed at record highs, but what came in was Alphabet's number after that. Now, as of now, US futures are indicating a bit of a mildly positive start that we're seeing coming in, given that Alphabet numbers were quite strong. On the other side, where Intel that actually said that they are cutting 15% of their workforce. They're grappling through all these manufacturing challenges. So a bit of a concern that comes in on that front. FIIs in yesterday's market in India, again, were sellers. 2,000 crores, approximately 2,100 crores sell coming in for FIIs, while DIIs continue to be buyers of 2,600 crores. Other than that, what we're keeping an eye out on, just yesterday before market close, that India-UK deal, FTA deal was signed. So keep an eye out on some of these individual sectors, whether it could be textile, leather, footwear, gems, auto sector. We'll keep an eye out on individual sectors where there have been rate changes, significant tariff reduction that's come in there. Earnings reaction, post-market hours, we had REC, Signed, Hexaware, Emphasis, IEX reporting their numbers. IT clearly would be some bit of a focus that we'll see coming in on, and other than that, IEX as well. Earnings today that we'll be keeping an eye out on, Bajaj Finserv, Cipla in the pharma pack. We have Shriram Finance, Bank of Baroda as well as SBI Card, some of the important earnings that I would be keeping on my radar. Now, Nifty, obviously, like I said, we saw a correction coming in yesterday. Keep an eye out on important resistance and support levels over there for the Nifty as well. As of now, a gap down start is what we're watching out for. For the Nifty 50 and Nifty implied open is indicating a 100-point decline. So important to watch out for over there. But we have Gaurav joining in with us right now this morning to tell us which are the important stocks to watch out for in today's trading session. Good morning, Gaurav.
Well, yes, first let's talk about some stocks which will be in focus on the back of the earnings. So let's talk about Cyient. Weak set of number here. Revenue declined almost, and at the same time net profit also declined almost by 10% on a sequential basis, and margins also came in low. KFin Tech actually came up with a little bit of miss if we compare it with our estimates, because when we look at revenue, that has declined 3% and profit has declined declined almost by 2% on a sequential basis. Surya, the small finance bank, we were expecting weak set of number, and bank has actually reported around 50% fall in its net profit. Johnson Control, Hitachi, AC, that also company reported a little bit of weak number with profit going down as high as 58% on a year-on-year basis. On the other hand, we have got REC. Actually, when we look at profit figure here, it looks strong, and the reason being that company actually reported negative credit costs in this quarter. Loan book growth was at around 10.4%, a little bit lower than its own guidance. Other than that, Bajaj Finance, now this stock isn't going to be in focus, and this is on the back of their commentary from the management. In this quarter specifically, credit cost has remained stable on a sequential basis, but what management has indicated is that there is some stress in 2 and 3 wheelers, and at the same time MSME book, although they have maintained their guidance of credit cost, it can be taken in a negative way. Sun Pharma, on the other hand, is going to be on the focus in focus, and on the back of the deal that they have signed $200 million settlement deal with end purchaser plaintiff in the US generic drug pricing antitrust case. And lastly, let's also focus on Nestle, because Mr. Manish Tiwari will be is appointed as the chairman of the board and MD, and he will be this will be with effect from 1st of August. So definitely watching out on all these companies in the trade today.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Gaurav. But let's go across to Sudarshan, who's here to tell us what to watch out for in the world of FNO. Good morning, Sudarshan.
Good morning, Vinny. So it was a bad day of trade yesterday, mainly because of the deep fall that we have seen in RT stocks, not only large cap, even mid cap stocks, all the especially Persistent and Coforge were down almost 8 to 9% each. And even the large cap space, Infosys, despite reporting a healthy set of earnings for Q1, but the cautious guidance, especially on the higher end of the guidance that company had given 3%, that included inorganic acquisition. So that market took it negatively, and it led to a sharp fall in entire IT pack, and at the end Nifty IT was down 1%, but good part for Nifty was it held on to levels of 25,000, especially near the support of 25,060. But the problem is today, after following the global cues, GIFT Nifty is indicating a sharp downtick. At the opening currently it's down more than 100 points. As far as the flows are concerned, in the cash market we saw both FIs selling more than 2,000 crore while DIs have bought almost 3,000 crore, so it's fully offset by DIs. In the index futures, it was a mild kind of trade. In the index futures, FIs have bought just 2 crore rupees. They have reduced long positions of 1,500 contracts. They have reduced short positions of more than 1,500 contracts. Now, long and short ratio, if you see of FIs, it's at 85% and 15%. So they are long 15% and 85% short. So it indicates you that it's heavily sold zone. So from here, if there is any positive news, we might see a sharp short covering. Now, in the option market, 25,200 and 25,100 call options were very healthy. And on the put side also, 25,200 and 25,000 put options were healthy. Now first support around for Nifty is 24,900. Resistance remains around 25,300. That is 20-day moving average. As far as stocks are concerned, two stocks remain in the band. Those are RBL Bank and IX. One stock has come out of the band, and that is Bandhan Bank. Two stocks that I'll keep an eye on. First is United Spirits, because of India-UK FTA agreement, and second, Samvardhana Motherson has been moving higher for the last few sessions. Now, following the trade deals that US has been announcing, it might be positive for this stock as well.
Okay, Sudarshan, thank you so much for that. But with that, we're going to slip into a very short break. And after the break, we'll talk to you all about India and UK signing that landmark free trade agreement. Details when we return. Welcome back to Power Breakfast on CNBC TV18. Now, let's move on and talk about that much-awaited India-UK free trade agreement that has been signed. Now, it has been in the works for over 3 years. We talk starting in Jan 2022. The United Kingdom has seen 4 prime ministers since then. The Prime Minister Narendra Modi says that there may be a swing and a miss, but India will always play with a straight bat. Now, the Prime Minister of UK, Starmer, says that the deal would create over 2,000 British jobs. Commerce ministers of both nations signed the agreement earlier today. The deal is estimated to boost bilateral ties between the two nations by $35 billion and bringing down the tariff guardrails to a large extent. Now, products from the UK, including soft drinks, cosmetics, cars, medical devices, and Scotch whisky will get cheaper, and the deal is also going to unlock access for financial and business services for both the nations. Tariffs on cars manufactured in the United Kingdom would gradually be cut to 10% under a quota-based system. The United Kingdom has opened up its market for India's labour-intensive goods, which will include leather, footwear, textile, engineering goods, fertilizers, chemicals and petrochemicals. Agriculture exports to Britain is also likely to increase by over 20% in the next 3 years.
Who misuse democratic freedoms to undermine democracy itself must be held account. इकोनॉमिक ऑफेंडर्स के प्रत्यार्पण के विषय पर भी हमारी एजेंसी सहयोग और समन्वय से काम करती रहेगी.
This is the biggest and most economically significant trade deal that the UK has made since leaving the EU. And I think I can say that it's one of the most comprehensive deals that India has ever done, boosting wages, raising living standards, and putting more money in the pockets of working people. It is good for jobs, it is good for business, cutting tariffs and making trade cheaper, quicker and easier.
We, in fact, spoke to corporate India honchos on that is Sunil Bharti Mittal as well as Anish Shah to understand what the deal with the United Kingdom means for Indian companies and which sectors are likely to benefit from this. Listen in.
I must applaud the leadership of both the prime ministers to finally come together to get to a conclusion of this historic deal. This, to my mind, could actually set up a real roadmap for many other such deals with the Western world. And today, you could see in that room, in the very intimate setting at Chequers, a tremendous amount of energy between both the sides, bonhomie, friendship, exchanging commitments between not only the political leaders, but business community to take the trade, investment, and trade both in goods and services to the next level. Be a very special, advantage for India to get access to technologies for its own needs, own markets, but more importantly, exporting across the world. I personally feel the bigger advantage will come from UK companies investing in India and creating bases in India, which will be high talent pool that they can access, low manufacturing cost, and make the world their market, which I can tell you, having now worked in UK for several years, is hard for UK companies to come to those levels of competitiveness that India can offer them.
All I would say is that it has been done in a manner that really strengthens the auto industry in India and is a win for both countries. That actually put the question the other way around. Is the UK car industry ready for the challenge that we will pose to them by sending cars from India? All I will say is that from what we've seen, it actually has been put together really well. As I understand, there's going to be a 3-year term. I don't have all the details of that as yet. But again, in brief discussions with some of the key leaders here, we feel that it will be a huge step forward in terms of facilitating that movement, making that happen easily, and therefore fostering innovation and a closer partnership in technology across both countries.
Now let's get in Sudarshan as well to understand what companies and stocks will be impacted because of this FTA. Sudarshan, again, back to you. What are we watching out for today? Because I think this is what everyone was waiting for, and it's been years, right? And everyone's talking about the positives. What are the stocks?
That's correct. So the deal was in the works for last 3 years, and finally it's been signed in the presence of both Indian and UK Prime Minister. So I'll just mention few sectors that will be in focus on the back of this deal, and those are auto, chemicals, food processing, pharma, even whiskey companies will be in focus, and as well as software and IT services. So what will this deal do? It's expected to increase annual bilateral trade between India and UK by almost 34 to 35 billion dollars, and it includes tariff cuts, improved mobility and market access guarantees between both the countries. Average tariff on UK imports will drop from 15% to 3%, and 99% of exports to the UK will now enjoy zero duty access. So now first talking about auto, how will this be beneficial for the auto sector and what all the details are there for the auto sector? First, India has offered concessions on large ICE vehicles. ICE vehicles means petrol and diesel vehicles, and also EVs in the higher price range. So there won't be any concessions to electric, hybrid and hydrogen vehicles for the first 5 years. So any concessions will come only after 5 years. So in the EVs, market access for vehicles that will cost more than 80,000 pounds. Concessions and quotas on ICE vehicles, those are petrol and diesel vehicles, include 3000 cc petrol and 2500 cc in diesel category. Now import duty is going to fall from 150% to 75%. That would be effective immediately, and after that it will fall to 40% over next 10 years. Second sector that will be in focus is pharmaceuticals. Why? India currently exports $23.3 billion in pharma, that is in global market, but exports to the UK are less than $1 billion. Now this zero duty access opens up UK's almost $30 billion market that will be taken hugely positive for the pharma companies of India. Third sector that will be in focus is food processing and agri exports. It covers almost 985 tariff lines, and India's current processed food exports to the UK are around $310 million. Now, what all products might be in focus? Instant coffee, tea and spices that might be gaining over the next few years. Fourth sector that will in focus is electronics. Which all products will in focus? Smartphones, inverters, optical fiber cables will benefit from the zero duty access. Last one is gems and jewelry. India's exports to the UK currently stand at $941 million, and UK imports currently $3 billion worth of jewelry annually. Now, India's exports that as per analysts are expected to double over next 2 to 3 years. So keep an eye on these stocks that might be in focus, especially these sectors that will in focus in today's trading session.
Absolutely, Sudarshan. Important to watch out for these in today's trading session. Now, speaking exclusively to CNBC, India's Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal explained how the India-UK trade deal would benefit both countries in the coming years. Listen in.
Plethora of items which are uncompetitive to manufacture in UK today, which India can be a trusted supplier in your supply chains. Likewise, they're very high value medical devices, many products that the UK is known for, high value special medicines, where India can benefit from the UK story. UK also is a largely service-driven economy. Another area where we hope to expand our relations so that all in all, by 2030 we can double our trade. And more importantly, a free trade agreement is also a signal of trust, a signal of enduring partnership, a signal that we now have a stable, predictable regime which encourages investments.
The Commerce Minister also briefly touched upon where India and US trade talks lie. Listen into what he had to say on that front.
I think it's a wonderful relationship that the United States and India share, a very special relationship, and I'm very confident we'll do a robust and good deal where both countries benefit and where businesses on both sides are happy. India will get a preferential tariff compared to our peers and our competitors, because we were amongst the first to get into negotiations, and our discussions, our engagement is truly very, very significant.
Okay, on that note, we're going to slip into a very short break, but don't go anywhere. More news and updates on the other side. Welcome back to Power Breakfast on CNBC-TV18. Now, US President Donald Trump arrived at the Federal Reserve, which is the first visit by the sitting president in roughly 2 decades, to tour the site of a $2.5 billion renovation of 2 historical buildings that the White House has been criticizing. At the venue, Trump and the Fed chair had a disagreement over the renovation costs. Listen in.
So we're taking a look, and it looks like it's about 3.1 billion. It went up a little bit, or a lot. So the 2.7 is now 3.1.
I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, it just came out.
Yeah, I haven't heard that from anybody at the Fed.
Yeah, it just came out. I don't know who does that.
You're including the Martin renovation. You just added.
That's our entire capital plan.
Yeah, you just added in a third building. Is what that is. That's a third building.
Well,
including
no,
the
but
Martin building.
it's a building that's being built.
No, it was built 5 years ago. We finished Martin 5 years ago.
It's part of the overall work.
But it's
So,
not new.
So we're going to take a look. We're going to see what's happening, and it's got a long way. Do you expect any more additional cost overruns?
Don't expect them. We're ready for them, but we have a little bit of a reserve that we may use, but no, we don't. We expect to be finished in 2027.
And in some somber news coming in this morning, wrestling legend Hulk Hogan is no more. The iconic face of professional wrestling in the 80s and 90s died at the age of 71, reportedly of a heart attack. The WWE confirmed his death, calling him one of pop culture's most recognizable figures. He was instrumental in taking professional wrestling into the mainstream and was a key contributor in making the World of Wrestling Federation global brand. Hogan was inducted twice into the WWE Hall of Fame and referred to himself as Babe Ruth of wrestling. Surely his passing marks the end of an era. And with that, we're absolutely out of time on this edition of Power Breakfast on CNBC TV 18. Thank you so much for tuning in. Up next, your Bazaar Morning Call.